What is going on, world? What's up, YouTube? It's Zero here. Today I'm bringing you guys a brand new episode of the 8 Below Show. Welcome everyone to 8 Below. Thanks for being here, guys, to the best entertainment related show here on YouTube. And I'm super excited about our episode here today. We have a lot of stuff to talk about, so let's get into it. A new game from Ubisoft is going to be coming out, guys, at probably the very near future, that being Scape. This is a game, guys, that allegedly is going to be a Battle Royale title, and I wanted to go over some of the things that we know so far about it, and is this going to be a Battle Royale that has other modes, like unlike most of these other BRs out there, at launch. And so I want to talk about that, get your guys' opinion on what you guys think about Scape at this point. So let's get into it. So in an article, guys, written by Stephen Wright of GameSpot, Ubisoft may reveal a new Battle Royale called Scape this week, with the closed beta coming next week. Not long after word of the game first surfaced, Ubisoft's teaser site has gone live confirming the Scape name. The website itself doesn't offer a lot of information about the game, instead focusing on some of the lore surrounding it, and in particular, a company names Prisma Dimensions. More importantly, it points to a specific date. Scape will apparently be revealed on July 2nd, or will at least be learning more about it then. So teaser website for Ubisoft's new game Scape Battle Royale with heavy Twitch integration is live. And then the biggest publishers in gaming have each taken their shot with successful AAA Battle Royale games like Apex Legends and Call of Duty Warzone. And it looks like Ubisoft is about to try its hand at it. Now, what I will say, guys, is Rod Breslow, also known as Slasher, the publisher, will tease a new game called Scape, which is a Battle Royale game set in a virtual world. Now, what's interesting about this, guys, it's going to be set in a virtual world, which I think is really going to be interesting. And the images that we've seen so far, guys, look pretty, this looks pretty futuristic, to say the least. What I'm excited about, though, guys, is that there's been talk that there may potentially be more game modes at launch, like unlike some of these other, Battle Royale games. Look, at the end of the day, guys, this is my biggest thing with Battle Royale. My biggest issue with it is that I love Battle Royale as a genre, and I want there to be continued games that come out in this space. However, I really think it's important. We've seen Fortnite, they do like Team Deathmatch, and they do other game modes. But the difference, though, is what I'm getting at is I want to see a Battle Royale, game come out that has other modes outside of that one map that you can play. So similar to like Call of Duty Warzone, when you're done playing Warzone, or if you're kind of sick of playing it for the day, you can go on and play some multiplayer matches, which is going to be on multiple different maps, and you can kind of play Call of Duty right now, Modern Warfare, the way that you want. Whether that's Warzone, whether that's multiplayer, campaign, Spec Ops, whatever it is, there's multiple ways that you can go ahead and connect with the franchise. And most of these other Battle Royales don't have that yet. They have game modes or other game modes other than just, pure Battle Royale, but it's still on the exact same map, same, basically same everything. And so I'd like to see Battle Royale evolve to more game modes, more maps than just BR itself. And that's what I'm hoping with Scape at this point. As with Apex Legends and Valorant before, Breslow says that Ubisoft has invited many streamers, YouTubers, and other gaming influencers to see the game for themselves ahead of a closed beta next week. He further claims that Scape offers an unprecedented level of integration with Twitch chat able to directly impact play with events and the like. He offered an example in a follow-up tweet. Viewers will be able to vote for either speed or health boost items, and they will earn progress by watching games. Streamers will also garner revenue for 4-bit purchases. And so, very interesting, guys. The images that we've seen so far of this, it being, number one, it being another free-to-play Battle Royale. Look, no matter what you think about Battle Royale, whether you like it or you don't like it, the fact is, guys, is that this is actually, Battle Royale as a whole is actually transcending gaming as we know it. It's starting to, more and more, we're seeing these big AAA developers that are making Battle Royale games free to play. And what that could actually end up, what this could basically lead to is that more and more games are free to play, not just BR. There's multiple other games that'll be free to play, which might lead to some really interesting games that come out in the future here. But this, guys, being another free-to-play BR, I don't think it would be getting nearly the hype that it's getting right now if it was not free-to-play. Now, obviously, the beta period will extend into July, with the full launch of the game coming on July 12th. And so Hyperscape will also offer crossplay between PC and consoles based on the leaked screenshots. The futuristic aesthetic of the game looks like a mix between Watch Dogs, Destiny, and Tron. And I agree. I mean, it does kind of look, it looks very much so Destiny-ish to me. But it even looks like some of the, the weapons and such. I like the way it looks, to be honest with you guys. I think what I really like about it is it looks like that futuristic BR that, Modern Warfare is more modern. Apex, kind of has like jungle atmosphere. It has a lot of different atmosphere. And then, of course, you've got Fortnite, which is more cartoony. This looks more like a Destiny BR. I mean, that's really what this looks like. It somewhat like Tron, looks, futuristic. I mean, to say the least, guys. I mean, it looks like a very futuristic game, to say the least, and I'm excited about it. Watch Dogs, you can definitely see that as well with this. So it'll be interesting, guys, and I'll be sure to keep you guys all up to speed as further information comes out for Hyperscape. I'm excited about it, though. My question, though, is, will Hyperscape kind of go away from the crowd in the way that they add BR as a, this is the Battle Royale game that also has other game modes outside of it? Will it be the first one to really do that at launch? Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. And for more Hyperscape content and videos, stay here with Zero TV. As we talked about in the last segment of the show, guys, about Hyperscape, I think it's important that we continue this conversation into another, kind of question, and something that I kind of want to give you guys my opinion about, and then I'd love to pass it on to all of you, and you guys can kind of give your feedback. Because here's the thing, guys. With Hyperscape, this brand new Battle Royale game that could, continue transcending the Battle Royale genre as we know it if it does add other game modes outside of Battle Royale. I think that this is a game that has a real opportunity. And I think one of the big questions that we're getting right now, we're seeing it on social media, I'm getting questions about it as well, is Hyperscape going to be pretty much the next big BR? And honestly, guys, I think that this is kind of, one of those questions that it may seem pretty simple to answer, but at the same time, it's actually quite difficult. Because here's the thing. You've got Ubisoft, who's bringing out Hyperscape, which, look, Ubisoft is a AAA developer. This is a massive company, guys, with, I believe they've got a lot of opportunity ahead of them, especially with some of these games that they've got coming up. You got Watch Dogs Legion, Rainbow Six Quarantine. You have, the list goes on and on with Assassin's Creed Valhalla, and then, of course, the next Far Cry game, which is allegedly Far Cry 6. So on and so forth. And so what I'm getting at here is Ubisoft, they're putting resource into BR. Now, whether or not this is also, like we kind of stated in the last segment about, are they going to add other modes outside of BR? Is this going to be something where if I don't want to play the Battle Royale side of Hyperscape, I can kind of play Team Deathmatch on different maps, or play Search and Destroy, or, whatever it might be that they decide to add? Are we going to be able to do that at launch? And that's a question that is going to remain to be seen. And would they add those things afterwards? Because I think that's the one thing that's holding Battle Royale back to a degree, is most of these BRs aren't like Call of Duty, where you got Call of Duty Warzone, and when you don't want to play Warzone anymore, you can play multiplayer, you can play the campaign, you can play co-op, you can play Spec Ops, whatever it is you want. There's so many ways to connect with the franchise, which is why Call of Duty, year in and year out, is the biggest game pretty much in the world, and it sells the best every single year. So what I'm getting at here, guys, is, are other games out there, these free-to-play Battle Royale games, are they going to start trying to continue transcending into more than just BR? And that's where, that's been a huge question that I've asked on the YouTube channel. But at the end of the day, is Hyperscape going to be the next big BR? I believe so, guys. I think, and I've said this in the past, that I've always thought that the BR space is going to continually we're going to continually get more and more titles that come out for VR. And I think what we can all probably agree on is that it's going to, I think, you saw the success of Fortnite, and it was significant, guys. We haven't seen anything like that ever in the history of gaming. And then, of course, came Apex and Blackout and all of these other, BRs that came out, PUBG, H1Z1, which is kind of one of the, the founding fathers, essentially, of the Battle Royale space. What we're starting to see, though, is some of these games are starting to kind of even out more. Like, you got Warzone that's on top pretty much. But then, what's interesting is that Battle Royale, this space, even though it's still very, still very new, is still pretty much topping the charts on Twitch as far as viewership is concerned and such. It's a very interesting thing, guys. And what I got to say is that I believe that this is going to be the next big BR. Now, is it going to, kind of be something absolutely huge, like it's going to be way bigger than Warzone, way bigger than Fortnite and such? I don't really know about that, but I think that this is going to fit into the ecosystem of Battle Royale and that space. And if you offered other things outside of BR for Hyperscape, which I believe Ubisoft would be very smart to do so, if they did that, this could be a huge Battle Royale game. If you're talking free to play, and I can play Hyperscape from a Battle Royale perspective, but I can also play it from a multiplayer perspective. Guys, that would be huge. Like, if you wanted to take a break from playing Battle Royale, because after a while, I think a lot of people, as BR has been out now for a while, I think I'm not alone when I say that they're kind of, it gets stale after a while. The same map, the same this, the same this, it's kind of the same time and time again. And I'm not saying that that's a bad thing, but after a while, you kind of want to try other things, right? And you might want to, just try other game modes or whatever the case might be. And so I think with Call of Duty Warzone, it's a great, this is a game that you can, a game mode that you can look at and kind of compare. There's so many people playing Warzone, but it's actually gotten, people to actually buy full copies of Modern Warfare to play the multiplayer, to play the campaign and such. Warzone has done so much, actually, for Call of Duty as a whole. Hyperscape could be the same thing as a Battle Royale, but it could really help. They could build something special here, I believe. Because this is going to be, more so than not, what looks to be a true futuristic game in Battle Royale. Now, I'm not saying Apex Legends isn't futuristic, because it definitely has futuristic abilities and things of that nature. And when you're talking about Titanfall, you're talking a more futuristic type of game. But I just think that this looks more of like that modern-esque, like the environments that you're going to be traveling around and such. And I'm not saying, it kind of reminds me a little bit of Apex, but this even looks further into the future. Looks like Destiny. It looks somewhat, like Watch Dogs as well. And what I'm getting at here, guys, is this could be just another BR in the space, and it could do really well being a free-to-play game. I really think that. And I'm not saying, guys, that it's going to be bigger than Call of Duty, that it's going to be bigger than Fortnite. What I'm saying is I think it's going to fit into the ecosystem of BR as a whole. It's just going to be Ubisoft's, their kind of take on Battle Royale. So you've got Activision's, you've got, you'll have Ubisoft's now, you'll have Respawn Entertainment's or EA's, you're going to have, Epic Games or Tencent. You're going to have all these different companies have their take on BR. And that's why, in my opinion, all of these BR titles out there need to evolve with time, which a lot of them are. But I think that they need to expand outside of BR if they want to continue being sustainable somewhat. Because as more competition comes out, there's going to be more eyeballs drifting to other places and other BR titles. So I think it's very important that these current BR titles are, consistently evolving with time. But with that, guys, I want to pass the question on to all of you. What do you guys think? Do you all think that Hyperscape is going to be the next big Battle Royale, or do you think this is going to be a big flop? Could this be the first AAA flop in the BR space? I have a hunch it's not going to be, but there's always a possibility that it could be a significant flop. Let me know what you guys think in the comments section down below. And for more Hyperscape content and videos, stay here with Zero TV. We've talked on the YouTube channel a number of times about Borderlands, guys, in this franchise. What I will say is that I really enjoyed the first two games within this franchise. Obviously, you had the prequel as well that came out. And what I will say is this, is that I believe that the first two were great, and I think that Borderlands 3, guys, if we're talking about the main narrative here, I think it was a step in the wrong direction, even though they did things a little bit differently in Borderlands 3. They've kind of like added so much more in certain areas, but then they kind of have taken, I guess, by adding so much some new things in different areas, it took away from some of the other things that made the other two games really special, at least in my eyes. And so what I wanted to go ahead and do, guys, is give you guys my top 5 things that I want in Borderlands 4. And I think it's really important, guys, that, with Borderlands 4, it's probably a number of years off. I think that Borderlands 3 still has, legs to kind of do some things and kind of evolve and change and hopefully, build upon some of the mistakes that they made in Borderlands 3. But with that, guys, I wanted to go ahead, go over these top 5 things. And look, I want to hear your guys' top 5 things that you guys want as well in Borderlands 4. And I think some of the things that I'm going to bring up, you may agree with, you may disagree with, but let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. So let's get into it. So coming in at number 1, guys, the first thing that I want in Borderlands 4, and some of you may be surprised about this, but for me, I would like to see a soft reboot or a completely different story within the Borderlands universe. And look, I feel like they did this trilogy almost, this Borderlands trilogy of the 3, narratives here, of that main narrative. And I'm not saying that it wasn't good. I'm not saying it's a classic. It really is. But I just think that what they need to do is moving into the next generation of consoles and kind of moving, in a new direction here might be a good move for them. I feel like personally, guys, that Borderlands is a really big universe, and I don't know all of the lore and all of the story of Borderlands, but what I can say is it seems like it's a pretty, diverse and a really interesting world outside of what we've seen in the first number of games here. And so with that, I would like to see a different story altogether. Having similar characters at different points throughout the story, or having similar enemies and environments and things of that nature, that would be fine. But I just kind of want it to be something, I want it to be new. I want to explore a different side of Borderlands or a different part of this universe, because I think it's just so vast and huge, and I just really want to explore it for myself. And I think that, they did the things that they did in the first, few Borderlands games here, and I just think now either do a soft reboot where it's kind of like not necessarily a side story, but whether you want to do a soft reboot or you just want to do a completely different story altogether that's within the same universe, I would be totally up for. That leads me to number 2, guys, which is having more things to do along the journey. And when I say that, guys, is there were times in Borderlands 3 where I felt like along the journey, along the story, the campaign that is what we're talking about here, it just felt like there were times where there wasn't a lot of things to do along that journey, right? I think, when you're talking about side missions, when you're talking about, just other things that you can do, other customization, ways of, customizing your characters and just being able to just do things along the way between point A and point B, or, because a lot of times there was just a lot of the environments and such were just kind of like dull. There just wasn't a lot there. And that might just be me, guys. Some of you may agree with me on that, but there were just things with Borderlands 3 that just I didn't like as much compared to the first 2 games, even though it seems like they added more in different areas, which we'll get to here shortly. I just would like there to be more things to do so that it keeps me coming back to the story over and over again, even after I beat the game, coming back through, playing it, a second time around, whether it be on a harder difficulty or I'm going after all the collectibles or I'm going to try to do all the side missions and things of that nature. I would just want there to be a lot of things to do along the way where it's not like stale along the journey, where it doesn't get kind of repetitive or just kind of, slow for me. I think that's kind of important for moving into Borderlands 4. That leads me to number 3, guys, which Borderlands 3 did do this, having multiplayer. They also, adding multiplayer is a big ordeal. It's a big deal, guys, but I would like to see an expansion upon that. Here's what I'm getting at, though. I'd love to see multiplayer and co-op come into Borderlands 4, but some of you may agree with this, some of you may disagree. I believe that Borderlands as a franchise is primed for Battle Royale. And so hear me out here, guys. You know, when we look at the BR space, look at all these different companies out there that are making these AAA titles, or they're making, a BR based upon a AAA studio. And Battle Royale is doing incredibly well at this point. And for big companies doing it, guys, making it free to play, it's getting people to come back to some of these franchises. It's getting people to check out new franchises out there. So I'll give you an example. The Call of Duty franchise as a whole has had peaks and valleys, similar to Borderlands, similar to any other franchise out there. Any big franchise, there's going to be peaks and valleys. What happened, though, with Call of Duty was, guys, they went through a stretch of 3 games, that being Advanced Warfare, Black Ops 3, and Infinite Warfare, which they had jetpacks. They completely changed things about the Call of Duty franchise, and it actually really tore the community apart. Well, when they added Battle Royale years later, they were slowly getting some of those people back to try Call of Duty again. But when they added Warzone, especially because it was free to play, lots of people who used to be a part of the community came back to try it, and so many of them are now playing it at this point. So what I'm getting at here is Borderlands 3, in my opinion, was the slip up for Gearbox when it came to this franchise. And I believe that Gearbox, as well as 2K Games, they come together, make a BR based around Borderlands, and I think they can make something really special here with, of course, the feel, all of the different, just the way the graphics are and such. And I think that people who left the franchise because of Borderlands 3, or even earlier than that, they may at least give it a try, especially if it's a free-to-play Battle Royale game. And so that's something I think is really important, just to kind of think about in the back of your head. Some people have a bad taste in their mouth when they talk about Battle Royale. But look, at the end of the day, guys, BR, the one thing that it's done for our industry in a major way, because I love Battle Royale, but at the same time, I'm not very good at it. And so obviously when you're not good at something, you want to get better at it. But, it's one of those things that I believe BR has done so much for gaming, because it's actually really put a spotlight on free-to-play games, that you can make this AAA title free to play for everyone, and it still sells really well based upon customization, all the microtransactions and things of that nature. So what I'm getting at is Borderlands 4 could absolutely do this moving into the next game, and I think that BR would be great for Borderlands. So I think adding that to the multiplayer experience would be awesome. Coming in at number 4 for me, guys, is I really want to see, and this kind of gets us back to the very beginning of this, back to number 1, where we're kind of would like to take a new take, or kind of a new story set in the same universe. Take some risks. That's the big thing I want to reach out, to Gearbox here, is take some risks. I'm not saying that they haven't taken risks in Borderlands 3 or the other games, but take some more risks. Like when you do this next addition to the franchise, I think it's important that especially if you're going to do a different story, change some things up, take some risks, surprise us, have things that, there's cliffhangers, and, there's going to be peaks and valleys throughout the course of the story as well, which of course pretty much with any story there is. But I'm just saying that I would like to see them take more risks in Borderlands 4, and that's really important to me. And that kind of leads me to number 5, guys, which is continue the customization, which we've seen obviously with all the different gun variants and this looter shooter. That's one of the ways that Borderlands 3 has kind of continued pushing this series forward, was just by all the thousands of different variants and guns and things of that nature that you're able to come in contact with throughout the course of the journey. But I think the problem with that was it was at the cost of the story. And so, in my opinion, go back to what made Borderlands great. Do story over customization. I think that it's great having ways to customizing and things of that nature, especially for multiplayer experiences. But when we're talking about the story, it's awesome having a bunch of different, weapons that you can, in gun variants and such. But I think it's really important that you have a great story, something solid, even if it's new. And that's why I said a different story altogether would be great for Borderlands 4. But I just think that now you have a foundation of like great customization. Now, I think it's really important that the story needs to take precedent over that of customization. So with that, guys, I think that really kind of rounds out what I'm looking for as far as the top 5 things that I want. And we could go on and on. The list could go on and on for things that we want in Borderlands 4. And look, guys, by no stretch of the imagination am I saying that Borderlands 3 was a terrible game. I'm just saying I didn't like it quite as much as the originals. And I'm one of those guys who wants to see the success of the Borderlands franchise. So moving forward, these are ways that they can maybe change things that some of us may really enjoy. But with that, guys, let me know in the comment section below, what are your top 5 things that you want to see in Borderlands 4? Let me know down there, guys. And for more Borderlands 4 content and videos, stay here with Zero TV. Hyperscape, guys, we've already talked about a couple of times now throughout the course of this show, and I wanted to talk, even more about it because I'm very intrigued by it, and I want to, take this last segment of the show and talk about, what we want out of this title coming out by Ubisoft. And when I say we, guys, I'm going to be giving you guys my opinion here, which some of you may agree, some of you may disagree. I want to hear in the comment section down below what you guys want to see in Hyperscape. So let's get into it. So, guys, for me, there's a number of things that I would like to see out of this game. One of those being, first and foremost, is that I'm just really glad that Ubisoft is going to give their take on a Battle Royale game. I think it's going to be, it looks to me from the screenshots and everything that we've seen so far, it looks pretty cool. I mean, it looks like this futuristic type style game. Looks like it's going to be pretty fast paced, which I'm excited about. And, I think that overall, this is going to be another contender that's going to continue to try to push the Battle Royale space further and further as we go. But one of the big things that I want, guys, is modes outside of BR for Hyperscape. So let me talk about this and elaborate on it because I think it's really important. I've mentioned it and alluded to it earlier in the show, but I think it's really important, guys, that when we talk about the Battle Royale space, we talk about these games that are, there's one mode, and that's Battle Royale, and outside of that, though, there's really nothing. They may have other modes within Battle Royale. So I'll give you an example. Like, there'll be maybe a limited time mode in Fortnite where it's on the same map though, and it's Team Deathmatch instead of the regular Battle Royale. Or there's like modes where you don't have as many mats, or you don't. There's not quite as much building in it, or so on and so forth. But it's all on the same map. What I'm getting at here is that I want to see Hyperscape be also a multiplayer experience outside of just Battle Royale. Because look, I think that there is something that each of these games, and I look at games like Apex Legends, I look at games like even, Fortnite, I believe that there's something to be said for having more modes than just the BR side of things. Because, like, at the end of the day, when you kind of get sick and tired of playing Fortnite, from playing it from the standpoint of the Battle Royale side, you may very well just move on to another game. But if there were other modes outside of it where there's like pure team deathmatch on new maps, on different maps outside of just the one map in BR, you may continue playing it. I'll give you an example with Call of Duty. You got Call of Duty Warzone, which of course is on one map, but if you get sick of playing Warzone, you can go over, play multiplayer, which is on tons of different maps, and other, a bunch of different weapons and all kinds of different other customization and things of that nature that you have within the multiplayer experience, as well as the campaign experience, as well as Spec Ops. So what I'm getting at here is Call of Duty has created a way where you can connect in multiple ways with the franchise. And so I think it's really important with Hyperscape to have that, to kind of maybe even take the next leap with that, even if it's just one map, like a smaller map, where it's going to be fast-paced, it's team deathmatch, and it's very basic, and it's also free to play. What I'm getting at here is that Ubisoft has a real opportunity to go ahead and not only make the next big BR title, but they also could continue growing the free-to-play space in a major way. Whereas, when you're sick and tired of playing the BR, you can go ahead and play Team Deathmatch on different maps. And I think that Apex Legends is a perfect advocate for a game like this, or could, do something like this, because you look at Titanfall in those games. which have had multiple, different game modes and such. And I have a lot of friends who love playing the multiplayer side of Titanfall, the Titanfall games. And then Apex comes out and it's only BR. Now, we're not saying that there's not other game modes within the BR, but what I'm saying is that there's something to be said for outside of the BR, other maps, other ways, and maybe we're getting there, guys, at some point or another, but I'm just saying that that's one of the big things that I want to see. Hyperscape, make it have other modes outside of the BR. That also leads me to the next thing, which is, look, I would love to see ways in which one thing I love with Fortnite is the multiple different ways that you can practice, right? And you're able to now it wasn't there right off the bat, but over time they were able to, create ways where you could practice your building, practice, against bots and things of that nature. And I would love to see that, from day one with Hyperscape, being able to practice where you don't have to go into the match consistently to get better and better. You can get better just by practicing before jumping into it. I think that's going to be really important, guys, moving into this game. And that leads me to the next thing, guys. Obviously, we're going to want multiple ways of, customization and such. I think it's going to be really important having earnable items over that of cosmetic items or items that you can buy or purchase in microtransactions. So what I'm getting at is this. When you look at games out there that, Call of Duty, for example, that's had all the different prestiges and such that you can, as you're, ranking up, I'm not talking about Modern Warfare in particular, but in the past, there's been prestiges, and you want to go in those in-game lobbies, and when you look at everyone else and see what they have, like, what prestige they're on, or what their rank is, or what emblems and titles they have, and you want to try to get those yourself, getting earnable items over that of items that you can just buy in microtransactions, I think is going to be really important for this. There's something to be said for earnable items, guys, because everyone, when you see that there's earnable items, and those earnable items are really cool, like the 10th Prestige Medallion in MW2, or the 15th Prestige title in Black Ops 1, there's something to be said for that, and it gives you that urge to put more time into the game to get better, but also to earn those items. So that kind of leads me to that. And like I said, guys, I would love to see, not necessarily at launch, but over time, I'd love to see Hyperscape get to a point where they also are adding like somewhat of a campaign, not necessarily like a full-blown out campaign, but something where there is, you get to learn each of the different characters within this world that they're creating. I mean, it looks pretty good, guys, honestly, when you're looking at it, and there looks like there's a story here. And so I would really like to explore that further, even if it was just small little missions or segments that you can play co-op or you can play by yourself to learn more about the story and such. I would really like to see that as well, because this is like a futuristic, fast-paced Battle Royale game that's coming out, and I would like to see that. And Ubisoft does a pretty good job overall with a lot of their titles of really telling really awesome stories, so I would like to see that as well. And like I said, guys, I think crossplay is going to be there, which I think is absolutely great. I love this concept of it being a free-to-play game. I think that's really great as well. And honestly, one thing that I would also like, guys, is that I kind of, I understand the concept of them changing the map over time. But I wonder if there's something to be said for the original map being playable. And then as it kind of goes through those, continuations, those are accessible to you, that you can play those. But the map also, you can play the originals as you go along if you want to. I know there's that question that it might split up the community, and even adding other modes outside of BR may split up the community. But I don't necessarily think it's a bad thing if it's all on that one game, in my personal opinion, especially if it's free to play. You're going to have so many people playing it at the end of the day. But when I look at Fortnite and how many continuations they've had of that map and how it's changed over time, it does keep it fresh, which is nice. But I think people really miss the original map. They want to go back to that original map, and they're probably never going to do that. And so Maybe over time they will. I just think it's important, guys, that there's, more and more ways that you can connect with the game. Whether you want to go back and play the original maps or you want to play the current ones, that current meta. You want to play the, other game modes outside of BR, I think is really important, like I've said. But I would just really like to see Hyperscape take this, where with each season you may change things, but you're also able to play those original, maps and such, even though there's continuations and changes to the map currently. I just think that would make it kind of special. But let me know, guys. These are all early things that I would like to see in Hyperscape. Let me know in the comment section below what you guys want to see. And for more Hyperscape content and videos, stay here with Zero TV. And with that being said, everyone, I hope you guys did enjoy this episode of the 8 Below Show. And if you guys did, leave a thumbs up, subscribe if you're new, stay positive, and as always, I'll talk to you guys all in the next one. Peace.